Israeli forces kill 6 aid seekers and wound dozens in a strike on Rafah.
The Palestinian Refugee Agency says more children have been killed in Gaza in the past 4 months than in 4 years of conflict worldwide.
Lithuanian police investigate the scene where Navalny's ally was attacked.
A new app called Ume will provide a network of designated safe spaces to support anyone who finds themselves in danger of harassment.
Israeli forces opened fire on Palestinians waiting for food aid in Gaza City, killing 6 and wounding at least 83 others, according to local media. The attack comes hours after Israel bombed a United Nations food distribution center in southern Rafah City, killing at least 5 people, including an aid worker. A UN spokesperson said the attacks indicate there is less and less respect for humanitarian work. Israel is planning to transfer about 1.4 million Palestinians trapped in Rafah ahead of a significant offensive on the city, where it says Hamas maintain 4 battalions. Humanitarian aid groups have warned an attack on Rafah would be catastrophic. Meanwhile, the IDF has published a video showing a drone strike on a moving vehicle carrying a Hamas official in Lebanon. According to the IDF, the Hamas official Hadi Mustafa was killed in a strike near the southern Lebanese city of Tyre. 1 other person was reportedly killed in the strike.
More funerals in Gaza. Many of those dead in Israel's latest strike in the central city of Deir al-Balah are children. In a post on X, Philippe Lazzarini, head of the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, described the ongoing offensive in Gaza as a war against children. He says more children have died in the Palestinian enclave in the past 4 months than the number of children killed worldwide in 4 years of war. Data from the United Nations and the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza shows the death toll as having surpassed the global amount of 12,300. Amid horrific scenes of babies and children suffering terrible injuries and trauma as a result of the fighting, Lazzarini called for an immediate ceasefire for their sake. And for those who've not been wounded, another threat, that of famine. Only a lucky few receive a hot meal as aid trickles into the embattled enclave.
The German Chancellor has reaffirmed his opposition to sending long-range Taurus missiles to Ukraine. Olaf Scholz's statement came in response to a question in the German parliament. He's coming under pressure from some at home and from other leaders in Europe to change his stance.
Aus meiner Sicht ist das eine sehr weitreichende Waffe. Diese Waffe könnte angesichts der Bedeutung, dass man die Kontrolle über die Ziele nicht verlieren darf, nicht ohne den Einsatz deutscher Soldaten eingesetzt werden. Das lehne ich ab. Und Besonnenheit ist nicht etwas, was man als Schwäche qualifizieren kann, wie einige das tun, sondern Besonnenheit ist das, worauf die Bürgerinnen und Bürger in diesem Land einen Anspruch haben.
Others, including the Finnish Prime Minister, argue Europe must take a robust stand against Russia or risk further aggression against member states.
Russia is evidently preparing for a long conflict with the West and represents a permanent and essential military threat to Europe. If we, as united Europe, fail to respond sufficiently to this challenge, the coming years will be filled with danger and the looming threat of attack.
With Europe divided over levels of military support for Ukraine, Scholz has invited France's President Emmanuel Macron and the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk for talks in Berlin on Friday. They are among the most ardent advocates of maximizing arms supply to Kyiv, including long-range missiles. Russia goes to the polls this Friday. No one expects Vladimir Putin, running for a third 6-year term, to be defeated. With his critiques dead or exiled, the other 3 candidates in the race support his policies. There is little room for change.
За кого? Это мое личное дело. Нет, конечно же, за действующего президента.
А почему?
Ну, потому что коней на переправе не меняют. Процессы у нас идут глобальные, серьезные, и их надо завершать.
Russia's leader has based his campaign on a promise to succeed in Ukraine, describing it as a battle against the West for the very survival of Russia. Most of those interviewed by reporters say they support Putin, while some said they want the war in Ukraine to end.
Надеюсь, может быть, какая-то будет по образованию реформа. Очень хотелось бы, потому что, честно говоря, ужасная, сравнивая с советским временем, в котором я родилась и училась. Ну, больше такие какие-то житейские. Конечно, хотелось бы, чтобы могли ездить отдыхать, чтобы СВО закончилось.
But with just days to go, others will see the elections pass them by, as residents of a small village in the Urals still don't know where to vote.
Я не собираюсь. Ну, как бы, мне кажется, уже все решено, в принципе, за нас. И идти по этим, как бы вы видите, дорогам. У меня маленький ребенок. Мне, в принципе, ее не с кем оставить, и я не пойду с ним.
Supporters of the late opposition figure Alexei Navalny want to come to polling stations at noon as a form of protest.
An attack on Alexei Navalny's close ally, Leonid Volkov, was likely orchestrated by Russia, according to the Lithuanian State Security Service. Dozens of officers are combing the woods near the scene where Volkov was attacked in his car with a hammer outside the Lithuanian capital of Vilnius. Police have been working since last night and will continue to investigate there and in the surrounding area. A pre-trial investigation has been opened. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron and Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda have called for more Western support for Ukraine.
Kur aiškiai matosi, kad tokie dalykai yra planuojami ir čia neturėtume stebėtis, bet noriu labai aiškiai pasakyti. Tarnybos įvertins, ištirs ir tikiuosi ras kaltus asmenis, o Putinui galiu pasakyti tik vieną, niekas jūsų čia nebijo.
A Belarusian opposition leader who lives in exile in Lithuania has commented on the attack.
I'm one of the people who is like direct target of the regime, so of course I can't feel fully safe, no in Lithuania, no in other country. But you know, this feeling shouldn't stop you working. You know, because first of all you have to think about people who are in Belarusian prisons and who are hostages of the Belarusian regime inside the country.
Denmark's government is planning to introduce compulsory military service for women. The move was announced by the country's prime minister as part of a plan to invest 25 million in the armed forces. Mette Frederiksen said protecting the country is one of the most honorable things to do.
Og så foreslår vi en fuld ligestilling mellem kønnene. Vi bryster os jo gerne af, at vi har et ligestillet Danmark. Men det er eksempelvis kun danske mænd, der har pligt til at møde på Forsvarets dag. Kvinder har mulighed for at melde sig selv og efterfølgende blive værnepligtige. Men også her er der forskel i vilkårene. Og hvorfor egentlig det? Vi er sådan set ikke i tvivl om, at øget ligestilling vil skabe et mere moderne og et mere mangfoldigt forsvar, som afspejler den tid, vi lever i.
Meanwhile, Danish donations to Ukraine have left large gaps in its defense. Military commanders have asked politicians to compensate for their losses.
A young French woman has created an app called Ume, which provides a network of designated safe spaces to support anyone who finds themselves in danger of harassment.
On va pouvoir aller sur la cartographie directement de l'application, on va voir les safe places qui nous entourent et là je vais cliquer sur la plus proche de moi. On a de tout en safe place, on a donc 6500, j'ai des bars, des restos, des supermarchés, des fleuristes, des agences immobilières, des coiffeurs.
Pauline, herself a victim of street harassment, came up with the concept for the app after talking to other women who had similar experiences.
Moi, ça m'est arrivé plein de fois de me faire suivre, me faire siffler, me faire insulter quand on ne répond pas aux avances, être un peu violent. Ça m'est arrivé de me faire poursuivre avec un couteau carrément parce que j'ai pas répondu à des avances.
A sticker in a shop window marks the establishment as a safe place for victims. Staff have been trained to respond to situations.
Il faut avoir une attitude bienveillante, rassurante, mais sans les toucher, par exemple. Voilà, ça c'est ce qu'on nous a appris. Avoir les bons mots aussi, en disant on vous croit, vous avez bien fait de venir ici, vous êtes au bon endroit.
In France, a similar Safe Places network project called Angela has been up and running for several years. A Texas man who spent decades using an iron lung after contracting polio as a child has died at the age of 78. A longtime friend of Paul Alexander said he died at a hospital in Dallas. He called him one of the bright stars of the world. Alexander was 6 when he began using an iron lung, a cylinder that encased his body as the air pressure in the chamber forced air into and out of his lungs. Friends of Alexander, who graduated from law school and had a career as a lawyer, say he was a man who had a great joy for life.
In Belgium, the price of shrimp croquette has soared. It's down to a shortage of shrimp in the North Sea, causing the price of dishes featuring the popular crustacean to rise. This means a portion of the traditional croquette could easily cost €25. Belgians consume an average of 6,000 tons of North Sea shrimp every year. The shortage is due to an abundance this season of whiting fish, also known as hake, which eat the shrimp. A warmer ocean due to climate change also means the shrimp have less food.